Part 36. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 351. After Guiying entered the ancient wooden pagoda, Zhang Xiai signaled Miao Fengluan to remove Shinayan. I came to Zhang Xiai and looked at the small ancient wooden pagoda in the magic circle. The ghost baby's figure has appeared on the first floor of the ancient wooden pagoda. I looked at Zhang Xiai with some confusion and asked, "What's going on?" Zhang Xiai looked at me, smiled slightly and replied, "I left just to help you find a substitute." He pointed at the ancient wooden pagoda and continued, "This ancient pagoda is called the soul-locking pagoda. It was made by the successors of the Wensheng technique in the past dynasties. This tower can imprison the wronged souls of evil ghosts. Once inside, there is no way to escape. You can only lock the soul in the soul-locking pagoda, only the owner can open it." It dawned on me. In this way, the ghost baby will not be able to leave the soul-locking tower, let alone cause harm to me. I suddenly saw the ghost baby in the soul-locking tower rushing towards my paper man substitute. The paper man double did not dodge and was directly thrown to the ground by the ghost baby. Then the ghost baby opened its bloody mouth and tore wildly at the paper mannequin's body. Seeing this scene, my scalp went numb. If he had just been caught by the ghost baby, he would probably end up like this. At this moment, a woman's voice suddenly came to mind. "Help!" I looked around vigilantly, but didn't find anything unusual. When I focused my attention on the soul-locking tower, I was instantly stunned. The person I was talking to just now was none other than the female doll on the 5th floor of the soul-locking tower. I looked at the female doll and asked, "What do you want me to help you with?" "Help you escape from the ancient tower." The Xiaochen doll shook its head slightly and said, "No, I want you to help me stop Sun Wencheng." "Stop Sun Wencheng?" The Xiaochen doll's tone was full of sadness and helplessness. "He has done too many wrong things and killed too many people for me. I don't want to see him become like this because of me." After hearing this sentence, I instantly knew the true identity of Xiaochen doll. Sun Wencheng's childhood sweetheart. The Xiaochen dolls are very exquisitely made and are very different from the dolls I saw before. No matter the facial features, hair, or expression, they are all indistinguishable from a living person. The Xiaochen doll looked at me with a lonely expression and said, "I am a broom star. My parents were killed when I was born. Anyone who comes in contact with me will not die well." I looked at the Xiaochen doll in shock. It turns out that the Giliuancha I was looking for so hard was actually her. Giliuancha is an unlucky symbol, always bringing disaster to the people around you, and doomed to loneliness in your life. In essence, Guluansha and Tiansha Guxing have the same fate. Xiaochen doll continued, "I originally thought I would die alone, but Sun Wencheng suddenly broke into my life. He was like a beam of light, illuminating my life." The Xiaochen doll began to describe to me everything that happened between her and Sun Wencheng. Childhood sweethearts, the two have been together since childhood. As time goes by, they fall in love with each other and then get together. But he never had a good day after he got together with me. I think it's all my fault. Some time ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I knew that maybe death would allow him to return to a normal life, but I couldn't let him go. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 352. The Xiaochen doll's tone was full of sadness and reluctance, and she started sobbing as she spoke. I didn't want to leave him, but I had no choice. But what I never expected was that after my death, he actually killed so many people and wanted to resurrect me. I don't want him to do this, so please help me stop him, release the souls trapped in this tower, and let them reincarnate." After listening to Xiaochen doll's words, I felt extremely complicated. I looked at the doll and said, "Okay, I'll help you." The Xiaochen doll nodded to me and said gratefully, "Thank you." At this moment, Dull footsteps suddenly sounded from behind the door. The Zyuj heard the footsteps and shouted to me anxiously, "Quick! Take Gyuda away quickly! He is back!" My expression condensed, and I quickly picked up the soul-locking tower and left here. But just as he turned around, he saw Sun Wenching walking out of the darkness with a gloomy face. Sun Wenching's face was gloomy, his eyes were cold, and blood was still flowing from the corners of his mouth that had not yet dried up. He was holding two small dolls in his hands. "Give me the soul-locking tower," he said coldly to me. I subconsciously took a step back and looked at him warily. Sun Wenching stepped forward and pressed towards me step by step. He stretched out his hand and said in a cold tone, "Give it to me." I shook my head and said to Sun Wenching, "You have killed so many people and imprisoned so many souls. The underworld will not let you go. Murder has legal sanctions in the human world, while imprisoning the soul requires judgment from the underworld." At this moment, the two little puppets in his hands suddenly made a sound. "That's right. Not only the Yin division will not let you go. Even the Dao sect will hunt you to the ends of the earth." This voice sounded familiar, as if I had heard it somewhere. I thought about it carefully and my face changed drastically. Unexpectedly, Sun Wenching was so powerful that he subdued Feng Ming and Li Yushin in a short period of time. Sun Wenching's face was still cold, and he said word by word, "What about the Yins? What about the Dao? Those who stand in my way have only one fate, and that is death." Obviously, at this moment, Sun Wenching has reached a state of paranoia and madness because of his obsession. I took a deep breath, held Lei Ju in my hand, and looked at Sun Wenching coldly. Sun Wenching also stretched out his hand, pinched a seal, and then muttered something. A bad premonition suddenly arose in my heart. A golden light burst out from the soul-locking tower in my hand. The next moment, the entire space began to twist and turn, and the vision became blurry. When I recovered, I found myself in an unfamiliar environment. Miao Fengluan, Master Gui, and Zhang Xi are all by my side. I looked around and towards the window. What I saw outside the window was mottled walls. Then, the scenery outside the window began to change, and Sun Wenching's eerie face came into my eyes. We actually entered the soul-locking tower. This is trouble. Sun Wenching looked at the few of us coldly. At this moment, he was like a giant, with a suffocating sense of oppression. He placed the soul-locking tower in the magic circle again, then took out a candle and lit it next to the soul-locking tower. "Sorry." Suddenly a woman's voice apologizing came to my ears, and I looked along the sound. I saw that Zyuj doll appeared in my sight. She came to me and said with apologetic eyes, "If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be here." Just as I was about to speak, there was a burst of outrageous children's laughter from the lower level of the ancient tower. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 353. We quickly grabbed onto the wall inside the floor. Immediately afterwards, a clicking sound came from the entire floor. Small square openings appeared from the walls and roofs. A wooden mechanical arm directly grabbed Zioxin and held her firmly in the air. The rapidly descending floor put some distance between us and Zioxin. I shouted at Mr. Ghost, "Quick! Get her down!" Master Ghost heard my shout and quickly activated his soul thread to attack Zioxin. At the same moment, a cold light flashed in those small square mouths. The next moment, a hail of arrows roared towards us. I quickly summoned the heavenly secret and cast the 5 thunder talisman. The blue thunder and lightning spread out like a huge spider web. Arrows and thunder and lightning intertwined together. The rain of arrows in the sky was blocked by my 5 thunder talisman. One wave after another, the floor under my feet rose rapidly, and countless sharp swords instantly protruded from the roof. The densely packed swords emitted a cold light. The floor rose rapidly, and he was about to hit the sword. I flashed my figure and jumped down to the side. The Ghost Master quickly caught me with his soul thread. I just stood upright when the sword hanging above my head poured down. The sword fell so fast that I had no time to react. At this critical moment, Master Ghost shouted loudly, and countless soul threads spread out from his body, intertwining in the air, forming a huge barrier. Sonorous! Sonorous! The sharp sword landed firmly on the barrier created by the soul thread. The entire soul-locking tower is a trap. There are countless mechanisms here. A little carelessness can lead to death. At this moment, a powerful yin qi struck. I saw the ghost baby climbing up along the pillar. I frowned. The current situation was simply too dangerous. The ghost baby stood firm and rushed towards me. At the same time, Zhang Xiai's magic array took shape. He shouted loudly, golden light flashed, and a cyan bagua array emerged from the solace of his feet. And Zhang Xiai is located in the center of the magic circle. Zhang Xiai stepped on the 7-star step and kept shuttling through the magic circle. The ghost baby was also confused by Zhang Xiai's ghostly movements. Seeing that Guiying was trapped by Zhang Xiai, I no longer hesitated, picked up the bloody thunder Ju and rushed towards Guiying. After taking a few steps, there was a burning sensation behind me. I turned around suddenly and saw the fierce fire spreading towards me. I could only give up attacking the ghost baby. I summoned the heavenly secret and cast the water talisman. The raging water poured out from the talisman, directly extinguishing the fire, and the water vapor instantly filled the entire space. I glanced up. We must find a way to get to the 9th floor, find Xioxin, and ask for a solution or a way to escape from here. I glanced at Mr. Ghost and said, "Wait, you and I will work together to stop the falling floor." The Ghost Master nodded. I summoned the heavenly secret, and then cast the wooden talisman. Countless vines spread out from the talisman. The Ghost Master also summoned the soul thread to pull the descending floor, and then he controlled the soul thread to wrap around the vines. The vines rushed upward. But after advancing for a certain distance, it stopped. Could it be that the talisman is not powerful enough? What to do now? I looked around and saw Zhang Xiai trying his best to stop the ghost baby. I reached out and touched my right eye. Just when I hesitated, countless cold arrows flew towards us from all directions. No time to think too much. You must use the power of your right eye to solve the predicament at hand. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 354. I slowly closed my left eye and focused all my energy on my right eye. A black barrier appeared out of thin air and directly enveloped several of us. The rain of arrows that was originally speeding broke instantly after hitting the black barrier. We are only 7 or 8 meters away from the previous floor. This distance is also the limit space expanded by the black barrier. Because of the wooden runes and soul threads, the floor that was originally falling rapidly has been fixed. My expression condensed, and the black barrier instantly expanded its range. I stretched out my hand, grabbed the void, and controlled the giant black hand to directly grab the beam of the upper floor. I used the wooden talisman again, and the green vines firmly trapped Miao Fengluan and Zhang Xiai. I can control the power I exert at will in the space created by the black barrier. Whether it's the talisman or this giant hand, they are all under my control. I yelled at both of them, "Hold on!" Miao Fengluan and Zhang Xiai looked stunned. When they recovered, the vines had already wrapped around them and flew towards the upper level. In fact, this is not teleportation, but I use the ability of my right eye to shorten the distance between this layer and the previous layer. Basically, you still need to rely on wooden talismans. The distance of 7 or 8 meters was shortened in the blink of an eye. We gain a foothold on the upper level. Upon seeing this, the Ghost Master quickly withdrew his soul thread and turned into a wisp of dark wind floating around us. The floor lacking the support of the soul thread fell at an extremely fast speed. And the ghost baby also fell down together. I looked around, and the black barrier was still there, and I didn't feel any signs of the evil energy coming back. Let's go. I must find Xioxin before the evil spirit comes back. A few people nodded, and a few of us ran upstairs. When we arrived on the 9th floor, I was completely surprised by what I saw. I saw that the entire floor was filled with dolls, and I could clearly feel the souls contained in these dolls. I roughly counted, there were 49 in total. These wooden figures stand in a magic circle. In the middle of the array is Xioxin. I took a deep breath, and the black barrier unfolded again, covering all the dolls. At the same time, I pinched the bloody 9-layer thunder art, and the blood-colored lightning seemed to be alive, spreading to all the dolls at an extremely fast speed. With the blessing of bloody thunder and lightning, countless souls were forced out by me. I came to the window, looked out the window, took a deep breath, and reached out to the outside world. The black barrier moved from the soul-locking tower and instantly enveloped the room outside. I finally know why I haven't been attacked by evil spirits. Because I am in the soul-locking tower, the entire soul-locking tower is about the size of a palm, so no matter how much I unfold the barrier, the area will not be too large. In other words, the world in the soul-locking tower and the outside world are two independent entities. Sun Wenqing, who was sitting cross-legged next to the soul-locking tower, looked shocked when he saw this scene. I picked up the Thunder Jew, and the bloody Thunder Jew instantly appeared outside the soul-locking tower, and under my control, it struck directly towards Sun Wenqing. Unprepared, Sun Wenqing was struck to the head. Sun Wenqing was already seriously injured, but now he was hit by my thunderbolt. A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, and his body went limp and fell to the ground. Just when I wanted to kill Sun Wenqing, a beautiful figure stood in front of me. It's Xioxin. With tears in her eyes, she begged me, please, let him go. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 355. I looked at Xioxin, opened my mouth, and said, if we don't do this, we won't be able to leave here. Xioxin bit her lip lightly, looked at the Leju in my hand, and rushed over without any hesitation. My expression froze, and I quickly took back the Thunder Jew in my hand, but I never expected that I would still be a step too slow. The bloody thunderbolt instantly penetrated Xioxin's chest, and this scene happened to be seen by Sun Wenqing, who was struggling to get up. Xiao Xian. Sun Wenqing roared heartbreakingly. Xioxin's figure was a little illusory, and there were faint signs of dissipation. I quickly helped him up. Xioxin smiled brightly at me, and then looked at Sun Wenqing outside the window. She said, Wenqing, all this happened because of me. I think only my soul can end this. Wenqing, I beg you, let them go. I looked at Xioxin, who was dying, frowning. I turned around and shouted to Zhang Xi, 11. Is there any way to save her? No matter what the purpose is, I will not let Xiao Xian's soul fly away. Zhang Xi hurriedly came to me, squatted down, and looked a little serious when he saw Xioxin's condition. He bit his index finger, pointed it at the center of Xioxin's eyebrows, and muttered something. Xioxin's soul stopped dissipating. He turned to Master Ghost and said, quickly, give her some of your yin qi. Master Gui did not dare to neglect, came to Xioxin, stretched out his hand, and gently covered Xioxin's forehead with his palm. Immediately afterwards, a powerful yin energy spread from his body and slowly submerged into Xioxin's body. Xioxin's soul body slowly solidified under the nourishment of Master Ghost's yin energy. Seeing this scene, I let out a long sigh of relief. At this moment, the pain from the evil spirit entering my body instantly invaded every part of my body. My whole body started to tremble, and Miao Fengluan quickly held me in his arms and kept rubbing my palms. Sun Wenqing had a panoramic view of the scene that happened here, and his originally cold eyes were filled with a little color. Xiaoxin stood up and said to Sun Wenqing, "Wenqing, let these people go. If you continue to insist, I can only force you to stop with the power of the soul." After what happened just now, Sun Wenqing was really scared. He looked at Xiaoxin with complicated eyes, then sighed longly, kneaded the secrets with his hands, and then muttered something in his mouth. Immediately afterwards, the entire soul-locking tower began to shake violently, and the dizziness came again. When the dizziness disappeared, I was already in the room. Sun Wenqing came to Xiaoxin holding his chest. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but found that he had no idea where to start. Xiaoxin stretched out her hand and gently touched Sun Wenqing's cheek. She smiled at Sun Wenqing and said, "Wenqing, I know you are doing it all for me, but I don't want to see you do these things for me. So, let them go." Sun Wenqing also knew that he was helpless at this time. He fell to his knees with a plop, looking in pain, grabbing his hair frantically. After a moment, tears fell from the corners of his eyes. "I don't want you to leave me, I really don't want you to." Xiaoxin knelt down, gently took Sun Wenqing into her arms, and comforted her gently, okay, I know everything." Sun Wenqing was like a child at this time, crying loudly in Xiaoxin's arms. The Beza blood evil is activated again, and the pain from the evil spirit's backlash is slowly disappearing. At this time, the door to the room was broken open by a strong force, and the door fell into pieces and turned into small sawdust. An old man wearing a Taoist robe with silver hair and a white beard appeared in everyone's sight. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 356. The old man's cold eyes slowly scanned everyone in the room. Finally, he focused his attention on Xiaoxin. A strange look flashed in the old Taoist's eyes. Just when the old man appeared, the two little dolls who were pushed aside by Sun Wenqing began to shout excitedly. "Master! We are here! Here! Master! Could it be that the person in front of me is Wuchenzi?" The old man's next words confirmed my guess. After hearing Feng Ming's voice, the old Taoist's eyes became sharper, like an eagle's eyes. He looked at Sun Wenqing and said coldly, "I, Wuchenzi, son of the Sun family, I advise you to let my two disciples go and follow me to the Taoist sect to be punished. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." When Sun Wenqing saw the old man, he raised a wry smile. He struggled to stand up, came to me, and said, "Xiao Xian is begging you to let her find a good family in the next life." I was slightly stunned and asked, "What are you going to do?" A trace of loneliness flashed in Sun Wenqing's eyes. He shrugged helplessly and replied, "I made a mistake, and I need to bear it myself. Besides, I had no intention of living from the beginning." I looked at the determined look on Sun Wenqing's eyebrows and understood everything instantly. He made mistakes for love and went crazy for love. The mistakes he made were unacceptable under the law and made people and gods angry. From the beginning he thought of ending his sins with his own death. After he said this, he reached out to pick up the little puppet on the ground. Seeing this, I quickly stood up and grabbed Sun Wenqing's hand. Sun Wenqing looked at me with some confusion and asked, "What are you doing?" I raised a sneer at the corner of my mouth, looked at Wuchenzi, and said word for word, "Although you have made irreparable mistakes, you cannot be judged by the Taoist sect. Wuchenzi's purpose of coming here is obvious, that is for Guluan Shat." As soon as these words came out, Wuchenzi's expression instantly became extremely cold. He looked at me coldly and said, "Boy, this has nothing to do with you. If you don't want to get into trouble, You'd better shut up. I took a step forward, blocked Sun Wenching behind me, and said, don't think that I don't know your purpose. Aren't you here just for Gulu and Shat? When Sun Wenching heard this, he was slightly startled, and then looked at Xioxin. As a descendant of the art of defeating victory, he also has some understanding of fate and physiognomy. From the beginning, he knew that Xioxin was Giluan Shat. Sun Wenching took a step back and protected Xioxin behind him. Seeing that he had been exposed, Wachenza stopped pretending. He slowly stretched out his right hand, and then picked up the sword technique. Since you refuse to leave with me, don't blame me for being ruthless. Wachenza's fingertips flashed with golden light, and then he muttered something in his mouth, and then, the surrounding wind shook violently. A pale grimace emerged from behind Wachenza. Seeing this scene, I looked stern. I didn't expect that the dignified Taoist elders actually raised ghosts. Li Gui slowly walked out from behind Wachenza. This fierce ghost was dressed in the official uniform of the Qing dynasty. His face was pale and livid, and his eyes were flashing with a bloodthirsty red light. Qing dynasty ghost. No matter what, there are hundreds of years of Taoism. This is trouble. The devil stretched out his claws. His nails were long and slender, black and blue, and shone with a cold light in the night. Wachenza waved his hand casually, and the fierce ghost roared towards me. The powerful yin energy chilled my heart. I stretched out my right hand, picked up the bloody thunder technique, and blasted it towards the ghost. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 357. The evil ghost did not dodge, but stretched out its terrifying ghost claws directly towards me. The thunderbolt struck Li Gui firmly. Li Gui was forced to take a step back by the bloody thunder technique, but I was blown away by Li Gui's powerful yin qi. The strength of the fierce ghost in front of him is the same as that of the green ghost. I'm afraid we can't eliminate it even if we work together. Without allowing me to breathe for a moment, the evil ghost pounced on me again. Master Ghost stood in front of me and used Soul Thread to control the ghost. When Wachenza saw Hunsi, his expression changed slightly and he said, "Are you the descendant of Jingmen City God? Wasn't Jingmen City God destroyed?" The Ghost Master raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth, said nothing, and then controlled the Soul Thread to fight with the ghost. Zhang Shi did not dare to neglect and quickly join the battle. Just when I wanted to join, Sun Wenching came in front of him and said solemnly, "We are no match for him. You take Xioxin and leave here as soon as possible." With that said, Sun Wenching picked up the soul-locking tower and handed it to me. Then he stretched out his right index finger and gently touched the center of my eyebrows, and a golden light penetrated my brows. "From now on, you are the master of the soul-locking tower. Promise me to take Xioxin away from here, and I will help you stop him." I was slightly stunned. Before I could speak, Sun Wenching pointed his sword at Xioxin. Xioxin looked shocked and asked, "Wenching, what do you want to do?" Sun Wenching smiled brightly at her and said softly, "Goodbye." Then Xioxin turned into a ray of white light and entered the soul-locking tower. After doing this, Sun Wenching turned around and went to restrain Wachenza. I looked at the soul-locking tower in my hand, and my heart was filled with complicated things. I turned around and took Miao Fengluan's hand and said, "Let's get out of here first." Since Sun Wenching entrusted Xioxin to me, there is no way I could let him down. Miao Fengluan nodded. Zhang Shi and others are struggling to contain Wachenza. Sun Wenching kneaded the formula with his hands and muttered words. Then, the floor under Wachenza suddenly became empty. Under the floor are countless sharp blades emitting cold light. Seeing this, Wachenza quickly called Li Gui to his side to deal with the unexpected situation. It was Sun Wenching's move that gave us the opportunity to escape. I, Mr. Ghost, Zhang Shi, rushed out of the door and ran downstairs. Before leaving, I stopped and Sun Wenching suddenly called me. I looked back at him and saw Sun Wenching. He looked at me with a smile, his eyes full of apology. He bowed deeply to me and said, "That time, I'm sorry." At this time, Sun Wenching seemed to have changed into a different person, no longer as vicious as he was at the beginning. At this time, he was more like a humble young man, gentle and elegant. I faced him, hesitated, and said, "Survive." Sun Wenching was stunned for a moment, and then a wry smile appeared on his lips. He waved at me and said nothing more. I no longer hesitated and turned around to leave. Soon, we escaped from the dormitory building. We came to the road and I looked around, not knowing where to go. If Sun Wenching couldn't stop Wachenze, he would definitely catch up. With our strength, if we go head to head with Wachenze, it will be like hitting an egg against a stone. But now Su Tianxian is not with me, Hua Xiu has fallen into a deep sleep, and there is no support at the moment. Wait, I suddenly thought of a place. That is the Tianfu city god. No matter how powerful Wachenze is, he can't possibly be an enemy of the city god. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 358. Thinking of this, I made the decision to go to the Chenghuang Temple. A few of us hurried towards the Chenghuang Temple. The night is dark tonight, like dark, cold blood flowing from a rotting corpse, covering the entire sky and earth. The moon hangs alone in the night sky, without the company of stars around it. The pouring moonlight seems like resentful tears from the corners of a woman's eyes, dim and full of sadness. There were no pedestrians in the long and silent street, and there were vague footsteps coming from behind. Such an atmosphere was eerie. At this moment, Xiao Xian's voice sounded from the soul-locking tower in his pocket. "Please wait a minute." I stopped and took out the soul-locking tower. I looked at Xioxin in the soul-locking tower and asked, "What's wrong?" She opened her mouth and said, "Can you let me out? I want to find Wen Cheng." I rejected Xioxin's request without even thinking about it. "No, Wachenze's target is you, you can't show up easily." Xioxin was silent, and after a while, she continued, "He will be fine, right?" I opened my mouth, not knowing how to answer this question. "Yes." Xioxin continued to be silent. I looked at the 49 souls in the soul-locking tower, hesitated, and released them. The ghost baby is also in the tower, but he can't come out without my permission. Looking at the 49 souls in front of me, I waved my hand and the gate to the underworld appeared. I said to them, "Leave." These 49 souls, you look at me, I look at you, there is helplessness in their eyes. They walked into the gate of Hades one by one. As for Xioxin, she cannot be reincarnated for the time being because once she enters the underworld, she will be targeted by Ksitagarba. He will definitely be imprisoned by then. After doing this, we continued to rush towards the Chenghuang Temple. The night was very quiet, so quiet that it made me feel panicked. I could clearly hear my own heartbeat. I looked around, it was dark, only the dim street lights on both sides of the road gave off a faint light. It was strange tonight, not a single soul could be seen on the entire road. Even the usual noisy insects disappeared without a trace, and no living creatures could be seen at all. In order to reach the Chenghuang Temple faster, I chose to take a shortcut. We walked into an alley. The alley is not long, only a few hundred meters. But when we walked into the alley, we were dumbfounded. Because there is another alley in front of us, exactly the same as before. I looked back and saw a deep alley. Zhang Shishi and I looked at each other and blurted out. "Ghost hits the wall." The ghost hitting the wall is actually a deception created by the evil ghost. There are many ways to crack it. The easiest way is to pee. Of course, the person who does this must be a virgin. But this method is somewhat embarrassing. After all, Feng Luan and Xiao Xian are both here. So, I set my sights on Master Ghost. Rely on you. Master Gui nodded, took a deep breath, and powerful yin energy emanated from his body. As long as the ghost master's yin qi is stronger than the ghost who arranged the blind trick, he can break through the ghost's wall. After Master Gui released his yin qi, he continued to move forward. But when we walked out of the alley, the scene in front of us remained unchanged. It made me realize that we were in trouble. I lowered my head and started thinking about ways to get out of here. At this moment, a crisp sound suddenly came from my ears. The sound was like the sound of marbles falling to the ground. Just when I wanted to raise my head, a round thing rolled to my feet. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 359. I was slightly stunned, and when I looked closely, I saw it was a round ball, similar in shape to a marble, but slightly larger in size. I knelt down and picked up the round ball. I looked at the thing in my hand carefully under the pale moonlight. Suddenly I discovered that the thing in my hand was not an absolute circle, but an ellipse. I turned the thing in my hand over. When the back of it faced me, my pupils trembled slightly and I threw the thing in my hand directly. My move made Zhang Xiai and Master Gui a little confused. Zhang Xiai asked, "What's wrong?" I stretched out my hand, pointed at the oval object on the ground with some shock, and said, That's an eyeball." "That's right, that's not a marble, but a bloody eyeball." Hearing the word eyeball, Master Gui and Zhang Xiai instantly became alert. They both looked around nervously. Suddenly, the sound of marbles hitting the ground sounded again. Bada, ba. The sound was dense, like raindrops falling to the ground, and it kept hitting the ears. Immediately afterwards, another eyeball rolled out of the darkness, followed by a second, a third, a fourth. Countless eyeballs rolled towards us densely as ants moving, which made people's scalp numb. We backed away continuously, keeping our distance from these eyeballs. The sound of the eyeballs falling gradually disappeared. Looking at the ground again, the eyeballs had piled up into a hill. Sudden. These eyeballs rotated wildly, all aiming their pupils at us. In these eyeballs, I saw a look of viciousness and resentment. When Zhang Xiai saw this scene, he quickly stood in front of me and said, "Don't look." As soon as he finished speaking, these eyeballs instantly burst into a burst of dazzling blood. Blood-red light instantly invaded my eyes, and everything I looked at was blood-red. When the blood light disappeared and I opened my eyes again, the bunch of eyeballs in front of me had disappeared. I looked around again, and my expression changed drastically, because Zhang Xiai, Miao Fengluan, and Master Gui had disappeared. How is this going? I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. They couldn't disappear for no reason, something must have happened. Just as I was thinking, my stomach moved crazily, as if something was about to come out. I looked at my belly, and what I saw in front of me made me tremble. I am wearing a half-sleeved shirt today, the fabric around my belly is slightly bulging, and my long, thick black hair hangs down from below. "Lusu." A woman's voice suddenly sounded from my stomach. Hearing this voice, I froze in place for a moment. I am very familiar with this voice. It's my mother's voice. As soon as this thought came to my mind, a head came out of my stomach. When I saw that face clearly, my whole person was as stunned as if struck by lightning. That was really my mother. My mother's hair was disheveled and her eyes were full of evil. She slowly said, "Lusu, why are you still alive? Why are you still alive?" The sight in front of me made me completely stupid. At this time, there was another squirming movement in my left shoulder. I looked over my left shoulder and saw a head popping up from my left shoulder again. The head turned slowly. "Dad." I couldn't help but scream. One wave came after another, and I felt the right side of my face shaking violently. I hurriedly reached out and touched my right cheek. When my hand touched my chin, I froze in place for a moment. Because I touched a mole. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 360. A gangster? A face suddenly appeared in my mind. Grandmother. As soon as this thought came to my mind, I felt the left corner of my mouth unconsciously rise slightly, and then I let out an eerie and weird laugh. The laughter was eerie and sent chills down your spine. And this laughter is all too familiar to me, it's Grandma's laughter. Grandma's laughter was gentle and kind at first, but after she was possessed by the evil star Qing Yang, it became eerie and terrifying. This laughter once became the fear in my heart. His right shoulder trembled crazily again, and a head popped up again. This time it's Grandpa. It's like they literally grew out of my body. They all turned their heads, looked at me, and said one by one, "Why are you still alive? Why don't you die?" I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. The scene in front of me was too terrifying. But I am no longer the young boy who was just starting out and didn't understand anything. Everything I encounter now is probably the same as ghosts fighting against walls. Ghosts can produce yin qi, and yin qi can affect the magnetic field, thereby affecting my psychology, vision, and senses, and then causing me to hallucinate. The ghost master just broke out his yin energy, and his basic purpose was to use his yin energy to break the illusion. But unfortunately, Master Ghost's yin qi is not strong enough. But in that case, can I also use my own yang energy to achieve the purpose of breaking the illusion? Thinking of this, I no longer hesitated and summoned a blank golden secret of the sky. I concentrated my expression and drew the 9 yang qi lifting talisman. The 9 yang qi boosting talisman can strengthen a person's yang qi. This is an auxiliary talisman with no real attack. I pinched the sword formula and then silently recited the magic formula of Zhu Yang Qi lifting talisman in my heart. The next moment, the Zhu Yang Qi lifting talisman burst out with a beam of dazzling golden light. The golden light sank into my body, and I felt the Yang Qi slowly rising. I looked around and nothing had changed. No. A Zhu Yang Qi lifting talisman won't do. I took a deep breath and summoned 3 blank golden heavenly secrets again. 3 9 Yang Qi lifting talismans were activated at the same time. In an instant, powerful Yang Qi spread from all over my body. I looked around again. Everything around him was trembling slightly, and the houses, walls, and moon began to become blurry. Suddenly, there was a sound of something breaking. The scene in front of me was cracking like a mirror, and finally shattered. The hill of eyeballs appeared in front of me again. Without any hesitation, I blasted the 9 levels of luck thunder towards the eyeball hill. Thunder and lightning exploded, directly blasting these eyeballs into flying ash. Zhang Xiai, Master Gui and others also suddenly woke up. They were breathing heavily, and the expressions on their faces were even worse. I suddenly realized that there seemed to be one person missing. I focused my eyes to distinguish, and was stunned for a moment. Miao Fengluan is missing. Master Gui also discovered this. His expression became a little panicked, and he quickly shouted, "Fengluan." I also looked around anxiously, trying to find Miao Fengluan. I looked towards the end of the alley and saw a tall figure standing there quietly. He was tall and seemed to be holding a scepter in his right hand, while his left hand seemed to be holding a person. At this time, the dark clouds dispersed in the sky. The pale moonlight shone impartially on that man.